Thank you, Mayor. Colleagues, what we are seeing right now is not a local crisis. It is the predictable result of a federal policy decisions made by the prior administration. And we are now forced as a nation to overcorrect these mistakes, requiring the need for additional detention facilities. Engaging in interference of federal law enforcement at the local level is ineffective, irresponsible, and dangerous. What's being proposed here, blocking permits, denying utilities, penalizing local business owners, violating private property rights, or otherwise trying to obstruct a federal detention facility is not only misguided, it is legally futile. Under the Supremacy Clause, the City of San Antonio does not get to veto federal action. We do not control federal law enforcement, and pretending otherwise misleads the public. More troubling is the message that this sends. Efforts to deter or obstruct ICE enforcement does not protect communities. By attempting to interfere with federal law enforcement, we are not helping innocent people. We are shielding individuals accused or convicted of serious crimes, child sexual assault, human trafficking, drug trafficking, and other violent offenses, all while claiming moral superiority. I've heard a lot of names over the last few weeks, so I'm also going to mention a few that were not mentioned, citizens viciously murdered by illegal aliens in our country. Dakara Thompson, 19, killed in Bowie, Maryland. Her body was later thrown off a bridge. Laken Riley, 22 years old, a nursing student, attacked while jogging, beaten with a rock, suffocated, and assaulted. Rachel Morin, 37, a mother of 5, abducted while hiking on a Maryland trail and killed, bludgeoned with rocks, strangled, and her body hidden in a culvert. Kayla Hamilton, 20, a young woman with autism, was bound, assaulted, and strangled in her home. Jocelyn Nungary, 12 years old, abducted, assaulted, and killed in Houston, Texas, and her body was found in a creek. Larisha Sherelle Thompson, 40 years old, fatally shot during a random attempted robbery while driving in South Carolina. Jamil Shaw, 17, a high school student, shot and killed in a drive-by after being confronted and mistaken for a rival gang member. Roughly 2 hours ago, it was announced that ICE found over 3,300 missing children in Minnesota. The last federal administration lost those children and was not even looking for them. My hope is that the media will start talking about these things that are good for our community. Locally, in January alone, ICE here has arrested 21 individuals committing egregious crimes. A few of those are from a 60-year-old citizen in Mexico who was convicted of aggravated robbery, driving while intoxicated, and a probation violation. A 57-year-old citizen from El Salvador for possession of controlled substance and pending a charge for sexual assault and rape. A 29-year-old citizen of Mexico with a criminal pending charge for murder. A 34-year-old citizen of Guatemala with a criminal arrest for sexual abuse of a child under the age of 14. A 24-year-old citizen of Venezuela charged with injury to a child, elderly, or disabled individual. A 73-year-old citizen of Cuba with criminal convictions for sexual assault and kidnap and false imprisonment. Taking the side of criminals over our citizens and our law enforcement is not compassion, it is reckless. Citizens simply must come first. There has been a lot of rhetoric about wrongful arrests and lack of due process. What is consistently left out is this critical fact. The vast majority of individuals being arrested already have deportation orders. They have already received due process. They violated those orders. That is why enforcement is occurring. Due process questions belong in the courts, in front of judges with evidence, briefing, and the rule of law. City Council is not a substitute for the judiciary. I do want to address this fear-mongering. After weeks of listening to the same people come to these chambers and speak about ICE and berate myself and others who have a different viewpoint, it is abundantly clear that misinformation and lack of understanding of governmental functions and basic civics is rampant. Further, claims that innocent people are being randomly arrested are simply not supported by facts, particularly here in San Antonio. Repeating those claims scares people into staying home, skipping work, and pulling their kids from school. That fear is being manufactured by rhetoric and not reality. What we are doing here is inflaming emotions, fueling misinformation, and encouraging hostility toward law enforcement. And this has real consequences. It creates fear, it escalates tensions, and it distracts from the responsibilities we are tasked to handle, such as public safety, infrastructure, housing, and quality of life issues in our city. Our police chief has been abundantly clear. The SAPD has only been involved in 2 ICE-related incidents in an entire year, last year. One was perimeter support, and one was a traffic stop that escalated. Accusations that SAPD is overstepping or that local law enforcement is deeply entangled in federal immigration enforcement are gross exaggerations. They do not reflect what is actually happening on the ground. And there is another fact we cannot ignore. San Antonio taxpayers are still owed roughly $30 million tax dollars by the federal government for operating the migrant facility this city chose to open. And that money has not been reimbursed years later. And at this point, we aren't sure we're even going to get it. And I don't recall the outcry for sympathy for the people who lived around that migrant center, which was in a residential neighborhood where illegal aliens were free to come and go, and these neighborhoods were gripped by crime, drugs, and prostitution and property crimes. Yet some here want to risk additional federal funding, openly antagonizing the federal government and interfere with federal enforcement efforts. But to what end? The federal government will not be pressured by this council. The only thing this approach accomplishes is putting San Antonio in a worse position financially and legally. To be clear, this is not about bending the knee. This is about following the law of the land we all live under in the finest nation in the world and easily the best state in this nation. We are fortunate to live in a country where we can sit here, speak freely, and disagree openly, but freedom of speech does not give this body authority to subvert federal law or obstruct federal agencies. If you are not committing a crime, not interfering with police activity, and not here illegally, you don't really have anything to worry about. And if a mistake does occur, be sure that the judiciary exists to correct it. This is how our system is designed and how it works. Suggesting otherwise is irresponsible. It scares people. It causes real harm, and it must stop. We should stop inflaming fear, stop undermining law enforcement, and stop pretending this council has any authority, because it does not. The courts handle due process. Federal agencies enforce federal law, and we should focus on doing our jobs responsibly, lawfully, and honestly. We should stop trying to play federal immigration court on this dais. Let the courts resolve due process claims. Let law enforcement do their job, and let this council focus on governing responsibly. This is our role, and we need to get back to it. I am emphatically against all of these proposed measures, and I would say the frequency of any reporting should be at any substantial progress. Thank you, Mayor.